have a tendency to forget to hit the start recording button. This is Bobby Baggio. I'm with LaSalle University, and welcome to our Lunchtime Learning program. We've been doing this now for 6 years. We've got a great lineup for 2014 and 2015. There will be one in October, November, December. We take January off, and then we come back and do February, March, April, and May. They are always the second Tuesday of the month, and they are always 12 noon to 1 o'clock. We're thrilled. We're thrilled that you could join us today. We're very happy that you can be here for our first Fall 2014 Lunchtime Learning. I'd just like to remind you, we've been doing this now, we're going into our 6th year, and there are just so many wonderful archives up there on the website that you are welcome to use and enjoy with your training and learning departments. We do this for really 2 reasons. The first reason is it's a way for me to make folks aware of the Instructional Technology Management Masters of Science program at LaSalle University, which we have some alumni here today, and we have a few students here today. And I also do this, we also do this for free to sort of make the community, the training and development community, aware of new things that are going on out there. So that being said, I'm going to start my introduction, and we can get on with our program for today. What is instructional technology management? Instructional technology management is all about teaching and learning, training and learning with some sort of technology, with technology as a device. We are seeing people more and more and more in more walks of life get an understanding that this is the way the future is going. So we've seen a big shift in this in the corporate world, and we've seen a big shift in it in higher education and even K-12. LaSalle University is a private school. It is 150 years old. It is a very traditional school. It's been around for a long time, and it's a Catholic school. One of the things that's very, very LaSallian is that education should be useful and it should be of service. You know, that goes back 300 and some odd years to St. LaSalle. So the idea that it should not just be an academic exercise, but it should be useful is very, very important. Our program is geared towards working adults. What we require, if you're interested in the program, is go online, complete an application. We need official transcripts from an accredited undergraduate school that says, yes, you did earn a bachelor's degree, 2 letters of recommendation, and a resume. There are no GRE or GMAT requirements for this program. And how we get around that is we substantiate that you've been in the workforce. Typical profile of our learners are mid-30s to 60-plus years old. Lots of wonderful experience in training. Sometimes people come from ID. Sometimes people come from IT. Sometimes people come from the education or HR world. Here's a quick look at the curriculum. It's a 2-year full degree, 36-hour master's degree. You can get a certificate, which is half of that, which is an 18-hour degree, and all of that, if you decide to go on, transfers to the master's degree. So if you're interested in any of that, you can always email me at baggio@lasalle.edu, or go on the website. Hello, Deanne. It's nice to see some familiar faces here. That's awesome. Many. This is just a very small sampling of the industries that are moving more and more to online learning. Why are businesses doing this? It's a simple question. of it makes a lot of sense. I mean, at first it was just maybe budget issues, and people said, oh, the travel budgets are gone. But now it's a lot more than that. You know, we've been at this for about 15 years now, and there are a lot of things we can do better with technology. Not only differently, but we can do better. We can help people in different ways. Just-in-time learning, interactive job aids, you know, augmented, what I call augmented autonomy, augmented reality kind of things. So there's lots of things out there. All of the big industries are moving in this direction. These are just a few of our professors and our faculty. You will find careers, if you're interested in careers in this, if you're a career changer or you're interested in knowing more about the field, go to ATD, which used to be ASTD, and just look at some of the job listings out there. You will find this in a lot of different titles. Take into account learning with technologies. And that's where we are. That's who I am. I thank everybody for coming this morning, and I'd like to get on with the program. Let me introduce you to Christina Haxton, who was down at ASTD, I believe, Nationals, and has a practice in sustainable leadership. The concept of sustainable leadership absolutely wonderfully intrigues me to begin with. There's a lot of talk about leadership these days in organizations. The program we're going to see today is Motivating Human Beings 3.0, which I love that title too. We're going to hear a little bit about the lizard brain, and we're going to hear why perhaps performance reviews and annual reviews are something that we ought to kiss goodbye. And I'm just thrilled to bring this topic to you, and anxious to give Christina the microphone here. So I am going to make her the presenter. Give it a second so that we can switch to her desktop, and let's go.
Well, thank you, Bobby, very much. I want to thank you very, very much for inviting me to present to your audience today, and want to make sure that you can see that. Are we good? Can you see the title slide?
I can. Folks, let us know in the chat if you can see that title slide.
Okay, so welcome. The Art and Science of Performance Management, what you need to know about motivating human being 3.0. Want to welcome you to wherever you are, from wherever you are. I'm actually in Frederick, Colorado, and people may say, where the heck is Frederick? It's about halfway between Denver and Fort Collins, and it's a beautiful, gorgeous blue and orange day for those of you Bronco fans, and if you're not, I'm terribly sorry. My name is Christina Haxton, and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, which is what those letters mean after my name, but I'm also certified in evidence-based coaching, and I am a speaker and an author and an executive coach. And using proven strategies based in brain science, because I really like to understand how and why things work, I have taken my private practice and developed a coaching practice and leadership development training practice whereby I assist really smart and insanely busy leaders to quickly reduce stress, specifically power stress, which is a stress that's unique to people in a leadership position, and be able to increase their engagement levels throughout their organizations. And I've been doing this for almost 20 years now. So, Bobby, you described sustainable leader, and a sustainable leadership and sustainable leader is a leader who's built from the inside out and the outside in. You know, 20, 30 years ago, we were told to leave our feelings at the door and don't let them see you sweat, and don't show your feelings, and you've got to use a longer whip and a sharper spur to motivate people. Well, the truth is that's incredibly untrue. And so based in brain science and based in practices based in brain science, I work with people who really do get that that is entirely not how to motivate people and how to show people basically how you can inspire and motivate not only yourself but other people that work with you and for you and around you, using some very practical strategies that are actually pretty fun. And you will learn several of those strategies today. So I help people be built to last from the inside out. To coin a term, I think it's from Ford, and unfortunately I drive a Dodge, so I feel a little bit of a hypocrite. But these are some of the companies that have been impacted by the people that I have worked with and the companies I've worked with over the years. To help them be more effective, productive, creative, connected, and satisfied. And if you would type a yes or no in the chat box if you would like to have these feelings and experiences where you work. So yes or no in the chat. If I see any no's, I'll be incredibly disappointed. Or a yes, but that's not possible. It absolutely is. So thank you. Please do use that chat box to interact. I will be keeping an eye on it, as will Bobby. And this is a very interactive program. And somebody whose name I can't pronounce well, so I won't trash it, said if you do anything well, it becomes enjoyable. And to keep enjoying something, you need to increase its complexity. And I know that we're in a room full of learners and people who thrive on knowledge, and I think that you would probably agree with that. So in the box, how many frogs do you see, not in the box, on the screen, how many frogs do you see on the log? Type your answer in your box. How many frogs do you see sitting on the log? 2, 2, 2. Okay. So we can all agree there's 2 frogs sitting on a log. So if these 2 frogs are sitting on a log in the middle of a pond and one of them decides to jump off, how many frogs are left? Type your answer in the box. 2 frogs sitting on a log, one decides to jump off, how many are left? Okay, Bill's got a sense of humor. He said 0. 1, 1, 1, 1. Okay, folks. To all of those who said 2, I want you to take your right hand, reach over to your left shoulder, and pat yourself on the back, because the fact is there are still 2 frogs on the log. One of them decides to jump off. He didn't do it. So I don't want you to be a frog on a log today. I want you to take one small thing away, something that intrigued you about the content or the title of this workshop, and I want you to take it away and I want you to use it, because understanding by itself is overrated. Overrated. Awareness is overrated. You actually have to do something to change something. All right, so what is your goal for the workshop today? Please type it in the box. I told you your fingers might get tired. What is your goal? What is your one thing that you expect to get from this workshop today? And that will really help me tailor. In the time we have left, I always try to stuff about 10 pounds of stuff in a 5-pound bag, as my husband says. So I don't want to do that. I really want to tailor this to your specific needs. So what is your goal for the workshop today? What's one thing you hope to take away or learn? Refresh leadership tool set, better interaction with colleagues. Okay, go ahead and keep typing. All right, so our agenda today, this is what we will do. Houston, we have a problem. Actually, we have 2 problems, Houston. We will discuss what those problems are. Well, I will tell you what really drives Human Being 3.0. I'm going to give you a little bit of Brain Science 101, enough information to be slightly dangerous, what you need to know about your brain, and to manage some of the expectations we have about how our brain works and how it doesn't when it comes to communicating. So those of you with communications to goals, you will absolutely take something away. We'll also want to throw out the word performance management with the word icebox. I think the word icebox was archived quite a long time ago, and I think the word performance management should be too. And performance excellence is really what we're going for, right? There will be time throughout for Q&A. I don't want you to be a frog on a log, so we will have people be accountable for the one thing that they took away. And at the very end, we'll talk about how to keep it going. I will give you some information about how to get more information about the possibility of us working together, or if I can offer some resources for you, whether it's yourself individually, your organization, your association, in a coaching program, a speaking program, or resources that I can offer for you. I'd be happy to do that, and I will share that with you at the end. So let's get started. So in the question, in the box, tell me from your perspective, what has changed about the way we work compared to 20, 30, 40 years ago? What is different about the way we work? Co-location, okay. So remote workers, right? More virtual, yes. What is different about the way we work? Internet, more detached, less structured. Values. Ashley says values, absolutely. Information overload, right? Very fast-paced, global, do more with less people. Greater exposure of social media, absolutely. All eyes are on information, excellent. So what's changed about the way we work is we're no longer working in factories. We are no longer on assembly lines so much, right? So that's very true. We have the internet, we have information, we have a fast-paced global marketplace, extraordinary demands. We have to be more agile, do more with less, and better, higher quality, because all eyes are on us. Very true. So another question, what has changed about why we work, or what motivates us from 20, 30, 40 years ago? Think about those things that your grandparents, you learn those lessons from your grandparents. You know, you go to college and you get a good job after school, and you go to work for a company and you stay there 40 years, and after 40 years you get a gold watch, right? So that was one way that people were motivated. They were motivated by the illusion of security, if you will. What else has changed about why we work? What are you noticing that's different with yourself or your employees, for example? So it's more about meaning, social contribution. What else has changed about why we work? More satisfaction. Excellent. So the fact is, I think we're getting, I don't think, I know, we're getting it wrong. You know, I believe that as companies, as leaders, and by the way, a leader is anybody who's in a position of influence that creates value. You do not have to have a title behind your name in my book to be a leader. So everybody's equally responsible in that way. So the truth is, people join organizations and they leave bosses. They join organizations and leave bosses. Gallup's done phenomenal research about the engagement and disengagement. So the price of getting it wrong and connecting with people or motivating people in the old school way basically costs a lot of money, $370 billion a year in lost productivity. You know, what's engaged versus disengaged? So let me give you a little scenario. Let's just imagine you have 10 people in a boat, and they're in a race. Okay, they're in a race from point A to point B. You have 10 people in a boat. The truth is, when we look at organizations across industry, okay, and across culture, for the most part, what we find is we've got 3 people out of 10 in that boat rowing their little hearts out. 5 people are enjoying the scenery or sightseeing, and 2 of them are actively trying to sink the boat. Okay, so the truth is 30% are actively engaged, and the other 70 are sightseeing or trying to sink the boat. We're getting it wrong, folks. We're really getting it wrong. And some of you mentioned that when people are connected to the organization individually with their values, but they also have a reason to show up to work and contribute, that engagement level goes up. So it's extraordinarily costly to get it wrong. $3,400 a year for every $10,000 in salary. $34,000 a year, that's incredible. For $3,400 a year for every $10,000 in salary, that's the cost of one disengaged employee. Turnover, Turnover is the inevitable outcome of disengagement. It costs organizations between 48 and 61% of an employee's annual salary. And think about this, folks. And so I'm actually putting together a really cool program to address executive disengagement, because the higher up you go in an organization, the truth is the more engaged people are. However, the cost of that disengagement, and while the numbers aren't as high, when they do get up there for an executive or a senior leader to be disengaged, they can really sink a boat quickly. So let's address the fish rots from the head. So let's address the problem at its core. So the perks of getting it right: higher levels of engagement. You can see the statistics here. Less absentee, less turnover, less shrinkage or theft. Your Post-its and your pens will stay intact. 40% less safety incidents, all the way to productivity. It's incredible, and the statistics are very replicable. So what's changed about why we work, or what motivates us? The truth is that feeling of connection or caring. Okay, people leave bosses, right? Remember your worst boss? Right? A lot of people say, oh yeah, remember my worst boss, and you remember your best boss. So the truth is, demands in business are greater than ever before. The problem is we are not motivating and inspiring people the way we could and we should. So a system upgrade is absolutely required. Whips and chains and carrots and sticks don't work. Okay, so here's what happens. So we're going to talk about human being 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0, and I'm specifically going to address those of you who are responsible for motivating and inspiring others and getting collaboration in your teams. Because, folks, like it or not, it falls in your lap to make sure that you are creating that relationship with the people that you work with and for. And whether you still believe, leave your feelings at the door, don't let them show you sweat, I got to tell you, demonstrating empathy and caring in a conversation absolutely pays off in dividends. So let's talk a little bit about performance management, or performance, or motivating people 1.0. Okay, so it's not the same as it was 60, 30, or even 10 years ago. So organizations are using really outdated models and theories of what motivates people, which doesn't work and often backfires. Okay? Often it backfires. So I'm not going to go into the studies, and if you want more information about any resources, you can email me at Christina@sustainable-leaders.com, and we'll put that up for you at the end. But it really didn't work. So human being 1.0, this is the caveman, you know, fighting for the leg of the mastodon that they just ate. Okay, their survival was their drive. They work hard to avoid pain. There's immediate gratification and ripping that leg off away from someone, out of someone else's hands, and saying, my meat. Okay, so basically we were just motivated, and our brain was designed to avoid pain. That's what we did. We just avoided pain. Okay, so if you think about it, we've been trying to get more out of people in a formal way since the 1900s, back when, you know, we were in the manufacturing economy, if you will. Definitely used a stick, a lot of threats, tried to get people motivated to work harder, work faster, with this human being 1.0 mentality. So then along came human being 2.0. The human being 2.0 driver resulted from us having to collaborate and work in teams. It's based on the driver of reward and punishment, so a carrot and a stick. Okay, so when we started, when the manufacturing economy came along, that's when we tried to get people to do what we wanted them to do as managers or as supervisors, that we wanted to inspire them to avoid pain and to seek pleasure. Okay, so we basically set up kind of a competitive a competition to get collaboration, right? Who's working harder, who's exerting more energy, they got rewarded. If you didn't, you got punished, okay? So now, human being 3.0, really truthfully, back in the day we were acting as if people were just wanting to avoid pain and seek pleasure. The truth is they were really motivated this way. Human being 3.0, their driver, our driver is intrinsic motivation. Okay, so the fact of the matter is we are in a relationship economy. We're not in a manufacturing economy anymore. We aren't living in the caveman days. The truth is, we are motivated with knowledge and satisfaction and happiness. Okay, so we are in a relationship economy. So how do you motivate employees? There's a great article called One More Time, How Do You Motivate Employees? And it was actually written in 1968. And it hit the nail on the head when it came to motivation. So the truth is, this new approach really has 3 essential elements. Okay, we're going to talk about those essential elements and how you can install 1 or 2 for free, folks, into your company. So strategies to motivate and inspire human being 3.0. So people join organizations and they leave bad bosses. Okay, so let me give you a little bit of information in Neuroscience 101. What managers and leaders need to know about brain science to close the gap so we get it right. Okay, so I'm basically going to extraordinarily oversimplify the human brain. As you see on the screen, if you are paid to think, or if you pay people to think, you really need to pay attention here, because the truth is, in the purple shaded area, that's the prefrontal cortex, and that's the part of the brain that's responsible for your executive functions, making decisions, reasoning, logic, okay, comparing two things. That's where you have your aha moment after you had gotten into lizard brain after a conflict or an argument. So that's the prefrontal cortex, and that's the part where we pay people to show up and solve problems. So the very small little orange, it looks like a little flame there, it's called the amygdala. And the amygdala is part of the brain. The brain actually evolved from the inside out. So from that amygdala and that brain stem out to the prefrontal cortex, folks, the amygdala is in charge of lizard brain. I'll call it lizard brain. It's really called reptilian brain, but the fact is lizard brain's just easier for me to remember, and it's in charge of fight, flight, or freeze. Okay, so when we're under stress, what happens is, for example, you ever been in an argument with somebody, okay, and about 20 minutes later, you're like, damn, I wish I would have said that, right? So the truth is, when you were in that argument under stress, there was a lot of cortisol in your system, you were in lizard brain, okay? And lizard brain and thinking brain don't work simultaneously. So when the lizard's driving the bus, folks, the aha moment or the prefrontal cortex does not work. And we have a very social brain, so we were always almost kind of watching and waiting for somebody else to be in lizard brain, or to be criticized, or to do something wrong. We're worried about what people think. I don't care what people say they are. Our brain is just wired that way. So, we don't spend as much time in lizard brain back in the day when we were running from saber-toothed tigers, but the truth is, it gets invoked pretty quickly. And when the lizard's driving the bus, the prefrontal cortex checks out until you take a few deep breaths, get some perspective, and then your thinking brain kicks in. Okay? So I'm going to flip through the 5 functions of the prefrontal cortex here. And if anybody wants copies of these slides, please just send me an email, Christina@ChristinaHaxton.com, or I'm sorry, Christina@SustainableLeaders.com, either one, and I'll get these slides to you. Okay, so the 5 functions of that very fragile prefrontal cortex, and then there's lizard brain in charge of fight, flight, or freeze. So in the last week, has anybody been the person in the middle picture? Say yes or no. In the last week, has anybody been running around with their hair on fire trying to solve a problem, theirs or somebody else's? Type yes or no. Oh yeah. Bill's like, oh yeah. Yep. Okay, and the truth is, when the lizard's driving, thinking brain's in the back seat. Be honest, folks, look at all these people. Nope, didn't happen to me. Well, it's only Tuesday, right? Everybody has amnesia for what happened last week. Absolutely, absolutely. It doesn't take much for us to get into lizard brain. But the truth is, emotions are contagious. So even if you didn't come by it honestly and it wasn't your emergency or your fire drill, somebody else's fire drill, right? You have people who have fire drills constantly in your office or your building or on your team, virtual or not. Emotions are contagious. They're mirror neurons in our brain that actually are antenna for other people's feelings. Okay, why do you think it's so important that the boss has behavioral self-control and is able to manage their emotions, right? Because when the boss ain't happy, nobody's happy. So if the boss is in lizard brain, we are in trouble. We are in trouble at work because the truth is when we were in lizard brain, we were so much less productive, so much less productive. So now let me check in. Does anybody have any questions about anything that I have talked about so far with respect to motivation, with respect to drivers? Okay, any questions at all? Comments? Questions or comments? Okay, everybody's asleep, or hopefully I've been thorough. I don't think I've told anybody anything they don't already know at some level, right? Okay, so now you're ready for the how-to. Now you're ready for the how-to. Get out of lizard brain into thinking brain for yourself and for the people around you so that you can be more effective, productive, creative, connected, and satisfied. And oh, by the way, it works for other people because if emotions are contagious and if you feel this way, the odds are other people can benefit from that too. So instead of performance management, let's talk about inspiring performance excellence. And here are some ideas. So there are 3 areas of opportunity to inspire performance excellence. There's everyday conversations, there's the formal or annual review, which, oh my gosh, don't get me on my soapbox about that, but you will hear a little bit, and the work environment. So in some of these areas, you may have more control or less control, depending on how much power you have in your organization. But regardless, you can make a difference, and it won't cost you anything. So here's what I believe. It's in relationship that we learn and grow, and it's in conversation we create reality. And I actually learned that being a marriage and family therapist, specifically working with professionals and business owners and business partnerships way back in the day. But the truth is, it is in relationship, right? If you can remember your best boss, you can easily remember your worst boss. They leave a mark, positive and negative. And the truth is, we spend more time at work than we do at home. We spend more time at work than we do at home. So practice makes perfect. So I'm going to be throwing out these Christina-isms, as one of my clients call them, so that we can really leverage the way that we work and the way that we communicate. So in everyday conversations, number 1, emotions, 3 things to remember. Emotions are contagious. I want you to watch your language, and I want you to show you care, okay? And we talked about stress being contagious, right, as if you needed a strong why. So this is watch your language, okay? So it's in language that we create a reality. It's the language and the conversation we have going on inside our head. And raise your hand, yes or no, if you have a whole conversation going on inside your head often, right? Yes or no? You ever notice the chatter, the monkey mind regularly? Yes. Okay. So let me tell you something. So whether the conversation is inside your head or outside your head, there are universal lizard brain words. There are words that whether we use them to ourselves in our self-talk or we use them in our conversations with others, we absolutely need to avoid. Now here are 5. Okay, I'm going to really talk about 1. 1 is why, the word why. Eliminate the word why from your language. People will say, wait a minute, now I have to know why. You actually, if you really, really want to know why and it makes a difference, then by all means ask the question. But the word why invokes defensiveness, right? Think about the last time your boss asked you, why did you do that? Why do you see it this way? Why didn't you do that, right? How do you feel? Open, collaborative? Or how do you feel when someone asks you why? And by the way, when they say why, odds are their eyebrows are down, and they may be slightly holding their breath. Okay? And there's reasons why this actually invokes a little bit of lizard brain. Okay? So everybody's replying in the chat box, defensive, defensive. Even if the reason matters, immediately, right? Fight, flight, or freeze. That's the most powerful part of the brain compared to the thinking brain. Okay? So eliminate the word why. If you're working with somebody and they provide you with a finished product, or you're trying to understand why they did something, instead of saying why, I'd like you to insert the word what or how. Okay, so here's the caveat. You can't say, what were you thinking, and expect to get a not defensive response, okay? So here's what I want you to do instead of why. When you want to ask why, instead of that, I want you to take a deep breath. Everybody do it with me right now. Take a deep breath, ready in your nose, out your mouth. Okay, why is that a good idea? Oh, just use why. Because that actually, oxygenating your prefrontal cortex, breathing is a great idea for lots of reasons. One, it gets you out of lizard brain. It interrupts the lizard brain pattern. So instead of why, step one, take a deep breath. Number two, raise your eyebrows. For those of you who are just multitasking and all of a sudden they heard me say eyebrows, what is she talking about eyebrows for? What I will tell you is this. If you want to know why, then you need to contact me later and I will explain how I learned this. But if you take a deep breath and raise both eyebrows rather than furrow your eyebrows, what happens is your open up eyebrows gets a different response than down eyebrows. So those of you who are brave enough and have the guts enough to do this right now, I want you to furrow your eyebrows really hard. Hold your breath. Okay, now take a deep breath. Raise your eyebrows. What do you notice? Type in the chat box, what do you notice by taking a deep breath and raising your eyebrows? Other than people are looking at you funny. Open, lighter. Okay. What else? Interested. Open to possibility. Calmer. Absolutely. Because it will require you taking a deep breath, raising your eyebrows, to be able to ask the question, right? How did you see this? How did you see this happening? What solutions have you already tried? What do you think you'd like to try next? So using what or how and asking a question based of curiosity will also, because emotions are contagious, help the person you're speaking with also feel more open. Okay, so eliminate why. Eliminate why, unless the answer is really going to make a big difference, and odds are it probably won't. Okay, no is also a lizard brain word. Okay, ask me something I can say yes to. I'd love to, instead of saying no, finding other things I can say instead, which is let me give it some thought, I'll get back to you. If you need an answer now, the answer is no, right? Or I can say yes, here's what I'm willing to do. Okay, the last three are basically absolute. The three and four are absolutes, and again create defensive lizard brain, and the shoulds, right? You might as well just be shaking your finger at me. So those are universal lizard brain words. The reason we want to use what or how, or help me see how you see it, or we don't want to tell. We want to do more listening, and we want to give people the opportunity to have an aha moment. Remember when if there's a time you went to your boss and you were describing a problem or an issue or a challenge you were faced with, and then your boss starts to tell you the answer, and just before he or she even finishes their sentence, do you have an aha moment or do you have an ah-duh moment? Type in the chat box. When you're trying to get some help solving a problem, somebody tells you the answer, and almost 3/4 of the way through you have an aha or an ah-duh moment. Type in the chat box what do you think happens? Ah-duh, ah-duh, duh. Exactly. So do you think that inspires creativity? Right? So don't rob the people of the opportunity to think. If you think about, we're in a knowledge economy. Our brain wants to make connections. Naturally, we want to solve problems. If somebody solves it for us, we start to feel incredibly incompetent. So even if you do know the answer because you are so super smart, please, 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 pretend you don't. Pretend you don't know. Help people think rather than think for them. Okay, any questions about creating reality and conversation? Okay, I'm going to pick up the pace a little bit here because I want to make sure to get through everything. Any questions, comments about what you've learned so far? Bobby likes robbing people of the opportunity to think, and we don't want to rob people of the opportunity to think. We pay them to think. We don't want to rob them of the opportunity. Okay, here we go. I'm going to be on the soapbox real quick about the annual review. I hate annual reviews. In 10 years prior to being in private practice and as a coach, I actually was an employee. And by the way, I probably don't make a very good employee. I have too many opinions. But the truth is, I hated the annual review, right? So those of you who have experienced either giving or getting annual reviews, do you like them? Is this a great, fantastic tool to give feedback? What are your thoughts? Annual reviews? No? Don't like them? Don't like giving them? Don't like getting them? Many of them are a joke. Don't like giving or receiving. Well, you're going to like this next section because here's how we do want it. We want to be able to, we definitely want to be able to, first of all, feedback's a 4-letter word. Okay, folks, I don't care how you spell it. Feedback is a 4-letter word. If my boss said to me at 4 o'clock Friday afternoon, Christina, I want to see you in my office on Monday at 8, I am stressed out the whole weekend because I'm assuming the worst, right? I'm going to give you some feedback, right? Oh, geez, please, don't put me through that torture. Just tell me, okay? So in a review, which, oh, by the way, with the companies I work with, we do them at least quarterly. It's like changing your oil, okay? So we do them quarterly. And we actually use a process Marshall Goldsmith talks about quite a bit called feed forward rather than feedback, coming from the field of positive psychology and solution-focused counseling. We really want to help people think in more of what they can do in the positives to build resilience. So we really want to, during any kind of a review or meeting, first of all, make them more often than annual reviews because, like many of you said, they are a waste of time. Okay, they are a waste of time, and we have a short feedback loop. The brain is a very short feedback loop. We really do want to know more immediately if we are making a difference to the positive or to the negative. And we need to know more quickly so that we can remember and practice and connect cause and effect. Okay, an annual review doesn't help us with cause and effect, and that's how those grooves are made in our brain. When we're born, our brains are smooth. As we get through experience and learn, we create brain grooves, and we want really groovy brains. So experience, adjusting course based on information really is what we need to do a fabulous job. We want to help people reach and identify stretch goals. It's kind of like Goldilocks, not too hard, not too easy, just right. Again, thinking about that human being 3.0's brain. Here's a good way for us to build in some accountability. You know, I think that all of us, or most of us, would answer yes to the question. You know, when we say we're going to do something, we do it, even if nobody really follows that, right? So those of you who say that we are more self-directed and less monitored, and we probably have, we don't have as much structured time. When we find out who we can be accountable to, even if we were just to say, you know, I'm going to make 10 phone calls by Friday at noon, and we just tell somebody, even though they don't check up, I think we dramatically increase the odds to do it. So asking people, you know, what would you like to do and by when, instead of telling them what they should do and by when. And some of you also identified the fact that we really do need to tie people's, what they're doing and why they're doing it to values. Okay, as a boss, asking what, here's that what question again. You'll see what's and how's a lot here. What do you need from me to accomplish that goal? right? So as a manager, being able to facilitate success. What do you need from me? The idea, Jim Collins talks about having the right people on the bus in the right seats, right? You hire them for a reason. Trust that the fact that they have a brain and they're going to use that brain if you just step out of the way sometimes is a phenomenal gift. Okay, so avoiding power struggles. We're going to talk about turning conflict into consensus. I want you to think about the eyebrows. Okay, when it's a stressful situation, take a deep breath, raise your eyebrows, and ask a what or how question. And sometimes if there's no question to ask, you can simply say, take a deep breath, raise your eyebrows. That's interesting. I'll have to get back to you. Or I can see how you'd see it that way, instead of getting into the power struggle of shoulds and no's and nots in your perspective. Okay? All right. So that's how to turn conflict into consensus. All right. Any questions about those things I just ran through really quickly? With respect to performance, you know, evaluations, reviews, inspiring people, feedback, four-letter word. Okay, let's talk a little bit about how you can adapt the work environment to inspire performance excellence. Human being 3.0 needs autonomy, mastery, and purpose. Okay, these are the ingredients to inspiring performance excellence. Autonomy, mastery, and purpose. Okay? All right, so hold on real quick here. Getting ahead of myself in my notes, or I'm not ahead of myself in my notes. So let me talk a little bit about autonomy. Okay, people really need four things. Okay, they need autonomy over when they do things, how they do things, who they do it with, and what they do. Okay, so as much as possible, within reason, obviously within your confines of your company structure, giving people an opportunity to talk about when they do it. Okay, when would you like to have that finished? How soon, or how, you know, how much time do you need? When would you like to finish that project? How would you like to do it? If at all possible, micromanaging is actually a sign of stress. So if you notice yourself wanting to micromanage, stepping back a little bit and recognizing you don't like being micromanaged, and I think giving people more autonomy about how they do it. There's not always just because we did it, right? Just because we did it is not really good enough. I don't know, is it good enough for you just because we say so? Type your answer in the chat box. Because I said so, does that work? This is how we always do it, right? Nope, didn't work. Okay, who they do it with. At all possible, if it's really hard to do, you know, I think in some ways, but oftentimes you'll find that, you know, if you just try it, it's a lot easier than we think. You know, if it's appropriate to involve people in hiring decisions, or who they would like to be on their team, allowing people to work on open source projects where they assemble their own teams. Yeah, Bobby says didn't even work with their kids. Yeah, mine either. So, all right, and then the fourth aspect of autonomy, what they do. You know, if you allow people to have creative days where they can work on any problem they wish or program they wish, I think Google did this quite a bit. I don't know if they scaled back on that or not. You know, many new initiatives are generated during a creative free time. So again, four aspects of autonomy: when people do things, how they do the task, who they do it with, and what they do. Okay. Whoops, there was that autonomy slide. Okay, here we go. All right, adapting the work environment. Okay, so mastery is the next aspect of human being brain 3.0. Provide Goldilocks tasks. You know, those are the tasks that are not overly difficult, not overly simple. It allows people to extend themselves, develop their skills, and learn. Okay, so if you provide tasks that are short of their capability, they feel bored. And if you provide tasks that are exceed, is anxiety. And anxiety is lizard brain. Lizard brain and thinking brain don't work well together. Too much lizard brain, too much anxiety, too much stress. Thinking brain shuts down. Okay, so when you create an environment where mastery is possible, fostering an environment of learning and development, to provide those 4 essentials: autonomy, clear goals, immediate feedback, and Goldilocks tasks. Okay, let's talk about purpose. I was fortunate enough to be able to go on a retreat to Kauai with a company that I do work for. Yeah, that was not a hard decision. You know, what are you doing in 3 weeks? Would you like to go to Kauai? Sure. And that was a phenomenal. I mean, the co-founders of this tech company actually here in Colorado were smart enough to recognize the fact that they were going through a growth period, and they had just hired 4 new engineers. They were going to hire 4 to 6 more for a very complicated project that was extraordinarily lucrative, that was really cutting edge. And they knew that in order to be able to keep people connected and engaged through this really tough project because of the nature of the industry, they really wanted to identify and help people, everybody on the team, identify with the purpose of the organization. So that's what we did for this retreat, and then we continue to do the work for the next 12 months. But we wanted to identify and communicate the purpose. Okay, the purpose is not mission, vision, and values. The purpose, they're values-driven answer to the question, what difference do we make and for whom? So communicate the purpose and live the purpose. Don't let it just be on the wall in a frame in the lobby. Okay, that's a joke. That is not purpose. That's a joke. Or don't let anybody else come up. Don't hire a consultant to come up with that. That does not work either. Okay, so identify and communicate that purpose in everyday operations as well as to your clients or customers, that everybody should know what difference do we make and for whom, and what difference do I make and for whom. Okay, so purpose maximization equals profit maximization. Okay, so we talked about purpose, helping people have, people have a natural desire to contribute to a cause greater and more enduring than themselves. Okay, so tell me what questions might you have about autonomy, mastery, and purpose in the work environment? What questions might you have? You might have questions about, well, how do we do this in my organization? And certainly I can tell you how we might be able to share some resources that I can do that for you. Oops. I'm going to type in the chat box. Can you hear me? There we go. Wasn't sure if you guys could hear me or not for just a second there. Yep. Oh, good. Okay, excellent. So, so when it comes to using carrots and sticks for brains that run on autonomy, mastery, and purpose, recognize that it's in conversation that we create our reality. It really is. And as somebody who's in a position of influence that creates value, I hope that you have been able to maybe find 1 or 2 things that you can actually use immediately today to make a difference, to feel more connected, and to help those with whom you work to feel more connected and cared about and inspired. Okay? So tell me right in the chat box, what was your goal? What was your goal today? And what's one thing you can take away to meet that goal? One small thing you're willing to do so that you're not a frog on a log. Your favorite tip, your favorite strategy, one small thing. Eyebrows. Bill says eyebrows. One small thing you'd like to try. better interaction, words that motivate, recognizing lizard brain. What's one small thing you're willing to do when you recognize lizard brain in yourself or somebody else? Excellent. Ashley says inspire excellence. Increase autonomy. Tommy says increase autonomy. And the other thing I'd like you to think about is you've picked one small thing. Who would you be willing to share that with? Who would you be willing to share that with to be accountable? The best way to learn something is to teach it. That's just a little hint. Take a deep breath. Raise eyebrows. My boss. I would love Bill to be a fly on the wall when you have that conversation. You'll have to let me know how that goes. Excellent. Okay. We have goals and what you're willing to do. Oops. Okay. So if you are ready to take action now, and if you are on this call and you are in a position that you'd like to take action, whether it's for yourself or your company, your association, your organization, I'd be more than happy to explore solutions and resources for you to help to find solutions to those retention challenges, whether it's with your team or with your company. So if you would like to schedule a complimentary leadership strategy session, it's complimentary, it's confidential, it's about 30 to 45 minutes of just my time, my attention, so that I could help you implement any of these strategies or offer additional strategies so that you can inspire performance excellence in yourself or others. Be more than happy to do that. The address on your screen is sustainable-leaders.com/LSS, Leadership Strategy Session. That will take you to my online calendar. I checked before the webinar. I had 20 spots. I have 16. I don't know how many I have left, and it's only for the next 2 weeks. So if you are interested and ready to take action, let's talk. Be more than happy to share any resources I have, whether I can personally help you or I know of resources that could possibly help you even better. Be more than happy to share those with you. No fee, no obligation. So if you have any questions, comments, topic suggestions, if you'd like to be invited to future webinars or to private groups, I'd be more than happy to put you on the list so that you can get information about upcoming sessions. Christina at sustainable-leaders.com, and there is my phone number for you. So if you have a desire for the I'd be happy to do that. I would be happy to give those to you. So thank you for attending the Art and Science of Performance Management, what you need to know about Motivating Human Being 3.0. I'm Christina Haxton, and I thank you for your time and attention today, and have fun with this. Thank you, Bobby.
Oh, Christina, thank you. This was awesome. There are so many great points here. So very many great points. Folks, we're going to wrap it up. We have 2 more minutes here. I tried to unleash the muting so we could have some conversation, but you know, we've got a lot of different things, 18 people, a lot of different things still going on in the background. So type it in the chat, folks. I'd just like to thank you for coming. We're off to a great fall 2014 lunchtime learning season this year, and I look forward to seeing you folks in October, November, and December. We've got some really great, really diverse things coming up. Christina, one of the things that came to my mind was how true everything you say is like on steroids in a virtual environment. Because of the detachment, because the environment is what it is, all of the things that you said, starting with autonomy, is very, very, very important. I think you had some great, great points here, and I appreciate so much you coming and doing this presentation. I also love the Human Being 3.0 because it really is a great way of looking at this. We certainly are not able to motivate with whips and chains or the carrot and the stick anymore. And there are lots of organizations out there that are still trying to use 20th century methods, and then they're surprised. They're surprised when they have turnover rates of 50, 60, 70. Some of them that I've worked with are 80 and 100% annually with virtual workers in the field. So there's a lot of good stuff here. Thank you very much. Folks, we're going to stick around for a few minutes, so if you have some questions, feel free to type in the chat or just say, I want to talk, and I'll open it up. We're going to stick around for a few minutes. Thanks, everybody.
Hey, Bobby, this is Christina. I just want to thank you very, very much for having me on today, and I really hope that people found some fun things that they can try and use right away.
Yeah, great, great. Yes, thank you very much for coming. And you and I will have to sit down and have a lunch sometime when we run into each other at an event. We could talk for hours. We could
Sounds like it. Sounds like it'd be fun. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it. Talk for a long time. Yeah, no, this was great. This was really, really good. Excellent.
Excellent. Well, thank you. It was my pleasure for sure.
All right. Well, folks, there's only 6 of you left here. So does anybody have any questions for us? If not, we're going to close it down, and I'm going to go try to get some real lunch here, actually. So we're 3 of the people, so we're going to say goodbye. Christina, I'll be talking to you soon. Ed, thanks for everything. Thanks for all your help. Ed is our graduate assistant who is helping out with coordinating all these things for lunchtime learning, which is a fair task. So thanks, folks. See you again soon. Bye.
Thank you, Ed, very much. Thank you, Ed and Bobby. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.